So last year when I hurt my back, it got to the point where I was not allowed to exercise for like 2 months. And then I had a couple flights that were really, really awful. And I was still kind of new to air care. And I had done EMS before, but then I was in nursing for a while. So like getting back into you're seeing things as they happen versus like after they've been admitted through the ER and like kind of everything's been done for you. But I had a couple bad flights like with kids, and I was just like an emotional disaster. And I couldn't exercise. And I hadn't changed my eating, and honestly, my eating probably got worse. So I was gaining weight, and it just felt terrible. And working through that and having a really tough winter, and coming out on the other side of that where I exercise like 5 times, 6 times a week-ish, if I can. And it's to the point now where like if I'm stressed out and I know I can go to the gym and something happens to where then I can't, like I'm upset.
Good morning, everyone. This is Jared Bass with Mark McKay, and you are listening to Triumph Every Day, where we discuss the journeys that shaped the lives of our guests and how it brought them to where they are today. And I did learn how to say your last name now, so I can...
You said
Swiencki.
yes.
Amy Swiencki.
Samsonite.
Samsonite. I was way off.
However you want to say it.
What kind of heritage do you have there that
That's
because that's not how it's like if you look at that, that's not how you say that.
Swiencki.
Yeah, there's some extra consonants in there.
It's Polish.
All right, well, let's start there. Did you come from Poland?
No, I have not been there. I'm not from there. No, my dad's side of the family is.
Yeah. Where are you from?
Rhode Island. That's where I was born.
Rhode Island.
New England. Yep.
Like Family Guy, like Peter Griffin area.
Yeah, the same exact place. That town is where I'm from. Yeah. No.
What are the Griffins like?
Exactly as they are on TV.
All right, so yeah, give us like the elevator pitch of who you are, where you're from. So you're from Rhode Island, New England area.
From Rhode Island. You guys know where that is?
Yeah, sorta. Yeah,
Right
it's
near
tiny little state.
Yeah, it's like 40 by 35 or something.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's really small. The stretch of 95 that goes through it is like 45 miles long, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah. From Rhode Island, I lived there for 21 years or so. Went to college there the first time. Not much to say about that. Moved to Maryland.
What's Rhode Island like? I mean, is it cold?
It's actually a lot like this. So I've lived in Maryland and Florida and New Orleans and a couple places in Rhode Island. And moving back here, this is the closest to New England.
Really?
Yeah, I'm actually surprised and impressed.
So it sucks there too.
The winter can be a little struggle.
I saw something today. It was like, since we were recording this and there's an ice storm outside, and my friend posted a little meme picture thing. So this is what happens when you decorate for Christmas too early. So I hope you're all happy.
Karma. Yeah, it is a little early for this kind of.
Yeah. So so you move here at 21?
No, I moved to Maryland.
After
I graduated school that first time. Moved to Maryland.
Where'd you go to school?
I went to University of Rhode Island. So it was 15 minutes from my house. It was one of those situations where I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I was going to college. My parents were going to make sure.
It was time to go to college.
My parents were making me go to college. I mean, I was going to go anyway, but I got a scholarship there and went there and had no idea what I wanted to do. So
Is there a lot of choices as far as, because I know there's Providence, right? Providence, Rhode Island. So it's pretty much the 2 schools.
There's Brown and there's like a School of Design, RISD School of Design is out there. There's a couple of schools, I think in Newport, but this is like the state.
Right.
The state schools.
Because I was about to say, obviously Ohio, us growing up there, have a little more on the state level, as far as choices and whatnot. Ohio State, Cincinnati, a bunch of L schools. So obviously such a small place, being from the smallest state.
There's a couple of choices.
You got one choice.
Yeah, pretty much. And so when I was there, like I said, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Even though I lived 15 minutes away, I actually lived at school. And they make you join a club as a freshman to make sure that you're well-rounded and get involved with the community.
I'm
And
excited to hear what club you joined.
the ambulance, the campus ambulance, because it was in the basement of my building, and I didn't have to walk up the huge hill to the like student center, whatever it was, for meetings for whatever other club they had. So I had no.
So your career path was based around you being
laziness,
lazy?
yes.
That is
Yeah.
amazing.
I had no intention prior to that of being in anything medical at all. I think for a little while I wanted to be a marine biologist, and
Who doesn't?
right.
This sounds cool.
So what does that kind of encompass? What does an ambulance club encompass?
So there are a few actually. There's like a whole across the country. There's like this collegiate association of ambulances on campus, I guess. But
Is it kind of like a volunteer fire department?
kind of.
Okay.
Like we didn't get school credit from what I remember, but it was just a basic life support. We had an ambulance. We learned how to drive it. We went to EMT school, and so we were like the basic response.
That's really cool, actually, because getting through that process as an adult is not like an easy thing to do.
No.
To basically go to school and do it as an extracurricular activity is a nice little fallback.
Yeah, and so it was class on top of like my normal classes, which I think at the time I had decided I was going to school for communications because it was probably the simplest thing I could do, and then I could
It's broad enough.
spend all the rest of
Yeah.
my time doing ambulance stuff. So, and then like if anything big happened where they needed like paramedics, we had the town surrounding us had like they could rendezvous with us
Yeah.
to provide that care for the patients. But it's a lot of sports injuries and drunk people on the weekends, but like you got to get your feet wet in how to take care of patients.
And so was that something that as you're going through that, you're like, wow, this is actually a lot of, like, this is enjoyable?
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
So I just graduated college because I had to, and left the state. There wasn't a ton that I remember anyway. I volunteered and I worked private ambulance while I was still in the state. But the state is small. It's small in size, but it's also small in like opportunity. I felt like, and I wanted to.
I think just by the physical size of the state, like you're
Yeah.
going to be limited.
Yeah.
What's
somewhat.
the closest like major city?
Besides Providence.
Yeah.
Providence is a major city.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like, how far is Boston? Like,
Boston's like an hour and a half.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
We never went.
Really?
Anything that took you longer than like a half hour to get somewhere was like a day trip.
Yeah.
Like that I drive an hour to work sometimes is
Yeah.
completely
I didn't know that
boring to me.
Brown University was in Rhode Island.
Mhm.
So you just taught me something.
You're welcome.
So what was that demographic like as far as, so it's such a small state, like what is the kind of stereotypical, like, oh, you go to Brown or you go to Rhode Island or you're in Providence? What was there like, because like here it's like Cincinnati, Xavier, Northern Kentucky is kind of its own, because you compared it to kind of like this area. So
Yeah,
just
there's.
curious.
I don't remember there being, because I wasn't really super involved in like athletics
Oh, okay.
in college, so I don't really know what the rivalries were. But there
Fair
was always stereotypes for some of the high schools, like the richer parts of the
Oh,
state.
yeah, fair enough.
Like if you, and the private schools and stuff. But I couldn't really tell you much about
That's all right.
about that.
I just thought Brown would be like, ooh, you go to Brown, you're elite, or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure it's
Yeah.
sure it's there.
Yeah.
I'm sure
We're
it
just
is.
oblivious to it.
And
Yeah.
I'm just going to be honest, the only knowledge I have of that is Family Guy. So
Okay.
All right.
Okay, so we're working off that.
Brian went to Brown. So he was a dog that talks.
And I didn't even go.
I don't know if you've seen Family Guy.
I don't know if
There's
you've seen
a dog.
Our
Girl.
question of the day today was what TV shows do you not like or movies? And someone said Family Guy.
Why?
I don't know. I just kind of breezed past it. It's like,
Okay.
no, I'm not going to.
Mark actually went and slashed their tires.
Yeah, I'll be
Tell us
honest.
who it is. So you moved to Maryland, and then is that so? You have now graduated college. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you moved to Maryland. Are you now still pursuing like this kind of ambulance?
Yeah, the EMS side of stuff.
Yeah.
So I got a job as like a ER secretary, I believe was first. And then I worked my way to like patient care tech or whatever while I was going to paramedic school, which is the second time I went to college.
Yeah.
It was for medic school.
And what is that a lot more involved than just obviously you're getting a communications degree. It's going to be wildly different than going to school for the medical field. But what
Right.
kind of things are involved with that?
So I don't think that every not everybody who has gone to medic school gets a degree. Like this community college near where I lived was offering an associate's degree in like pre-hospital medicine or whatever it was called. So I had to do like all the basic, like the sciences and the maths, and some of them I still had left over from the first time when I had to do all that. But and it's basically a 2-year program, and you move through all the courses to become a medic, and halfway through you get to take a test to be what they call an intermediate. So you were more qualified to provide care, or qualified to provide more advanced care than a BLS provider, but not as far as a medic.
Gotcha.
You could do some of the same stuff, but maybe you needed more permission to do it for medical control, whereas a medic might not need it. And then at the end, you graduate and take your test.
What kind of, and we can probably talk about this later too, because you're obviously still in that field, but like, what are some of the things that like, maybe, I don't know what the exact word, like the hidden kind of like stuff you guys have to deal with as like far as like working on an ambulance that like people just may not have any idea about?
Enlighten us.
I'm not sure.
Ambulance
So
driver.
I guess you know, like, I'll just attribute it to like what we do. Like there's stuff here that people might not have any idea that we do as far as like trainers, that may either be time consuming or just difficult, that people may have no idea when they just come in and walk through the door and take a class.
There's a ton of like maybe continuing education that might qualify
I'm sure
for
like
that.
as far as the medical stuff goes, it's constantly changing.
It is constantly changing, so having to keep on top of it. Continuing education, my license expires every 2 years. Just one of them. I have multiple licenses, but the medic license, the national one, expires every 2 years. You take a huge refresher or a test every 2 years to keep that up. But as far as like everyday stuff, I mean, it's as you start your day checking everything in the ambulance, making sure everything's there. If it's not there when you need it, it's your fault kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like dealing with people is probably one of the hardest things.
Oh yeah.
I mean, just seeing
Ever?
because I've actually talked to Aaron. You know, Aaron Sexton. You know him, and for the people listening, one of our trainers is also ER nurse, and you know, he's like, generally speaking, you're seeing them on the worst day of their life.
Yes.
Or one of the worst.
One of the worst.
You know, so what I'm sure you don't have to go through stories, but some of the things that like maybe you've learned about people through the years of doing this.
People act in a way that they would not normally ever think that they would act when they're really sick or really hurt or really scared, or all three. And the family members are the same way. So especially with young kids or whatever.
Right.
They might be acting completely irrational, to me, completely irrational or mean or hateful, but it's all coming from a position of being completely petrified of what's happening.
How do you deal with that?
So being open and communicating and not giving back to them what they're giving to me, trying to diffuse with offering as much information as I can. A lot of people are nervous because they don't know what comes next. So you're getting in an ambulance or an aircraft that's really loud and noisy, and people are poking and prodding you, and everything hurts, and you just don't know where you're going next or what to expect. So trying to
stay calm,
letting them know this is going to be loud, it's going to be really bumpy. It's when we get there's going to be like a million people around your bed trying to talk to you, asking you the same questions that we've been asking you, but they need to hear you say the answer. Making sure that they know that what's happening to them on the outside is normal. Like when the aircraft shakes, like that can be really scary if you've never been in an aircraft.
Sure.
Like, that's totally normal.
Yeah.
So how many, let's be honest, the real question, does the ambulance come with just a standard siren, or is that something you guys have input on? Is there multiple options?
It's all the same, but each siren has different frequencies. So you hear like the really fast one or the slow one.
Yeah, you're kind of like a DJ.
Sort of.
Driving
Well,
that, yeah.
So they are in different frequencies or different speeds because they travel differently. So when you're going slow, it's easier to use one of them because people around you can hear it. When you're going fast,
So you're
you want to use
driving
the
and
other one.
mixing, at the same time.
When people won't get out of your way and you just keep going back and forth between the two. And the driver just freezes and doesn't move at all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
it's
need a little
always
more
fun.
bass. It's a lot treble.
And there's a horn, like a big loud horn too
Yeah,
that you can
gotta
use.
hit that bass
So there's
every
the
once in a
third.
while, I feel like.
The third noise. We don't have that in the aircraft though.
Yeah, the aircraft. I know the
Definitely,
helicopters
definitely
knowing
want to get
when
to
you're
that.
coming.
So how long were you in Maryland for?
So total probably 6 years. I took a little hiatus and moved to New Orleans and rebuilt houses for a little while.
Good for you.
And then
That's awesome. What brought that on?
So I spent most of my moving around the country has been like running away from problems or running away from like life.
Okay.
And finding something else
Is that
to do
why
that's
you just
really
said
far
Maryland
away.
instead of like where at Maryland?
Oh no. I lived in Baltimore
Maryland.
and
That was
Harford
in the
County.
United States.
No. So actually, when I went to New Orleans, I was escaping like the end of a relationship or whatever, but I had also applied to nursing school and not got in at the same time. So I was like, you know what? I need to go do something else for a while. And I had friends that were down there working for the Episcopal Diocese. And I went down there and learned a ton. It was one of those like learn immediately before you teach a whole group of people who were there for a week how to do the thing.
Here's how you frame an entire house, and you're like,
And that was
And
it.
now
Oh my
teach
God.
everybody.
After
Yeah.
Katrina. I would
Yeah, it was a
imagine,
few
yeah.
years after. It was
Yeah.
still a mess, but it was a few years, yeah.
24-ounce center. What does that mean?
Let me call somebody, I don't know.
Yeah.
But I learned a ton.
I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, those are all, and those are things that you're taking with you later on, whether you know it or not. You know, being able to teach a large group of people, you know, be commanding for a large group of people and things like that. It helps you later on without you even knowing it.
But that's always been something that has scared me, like public speaking or having everybody looking at me while I'm talking. I get very easily embarrassed, I think, or even if I'm not embarrassed, like my whole face flushes.
Sure.
But so I've tried to put myself in situations where that becomes a new normal for me, like that it's normal to talk in front of a group of people.
Yeah.
It's normal
I'm
for
sure.
everybody to look at you.
I know personally, and Mark, I don't know about you, but I mean, my public speaking definitely feels a lot better than it used to be. You know, getting in front of a group of people, it used to be absolutely terrifying. And now it's still not comfortable, but it's like, okay, well, we can handle this.
Yeah.
It'll be all right.
I think it just depends. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
That's
You know,
true, too.
So it's,
Yeah.
You know, owning, like, if I'm speaking on, you know,
Quantum physics.
the ambulance club. I don't know about the ambulance. Anyway, I felt like, so you said public speaking, but you were a communications major. So did you have to do a lot of...
So the whole reason that I even did that was because, so this is going to sound like I'm scarred for life over something that happened when I was like 8, but I guess I was. I entered this public speaking contest when I was a kid in like 5th grade, and I memorized this whole speech, and I don't remember the name of it, but it was by Sojourner or Truth. And I got up on stage in front of all these people and I said nothing. I just stood there and I froze and I couldn't remember anything, and I can't remember if I went and sat back down or if I just left the stage, but they had given me like a second opportunity to do it, and I was like, no, there's no way I'm doing that.
I mean,
And
it's
so that has just like, since
real
then,
life.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I need to.
there's
Think of
people's
that's a
biggest
traumatic
fears.
event.
The first one is public speaking.
Yeah.
And the second one is death. And so, like, the joke is that people would rather be the guy in the box than the one giving the eulogy. You know, like, because it's that big of a fear
Yeah,
for
I think
people.
it's like public speaking and fighting. Like physical, you know.
So it's one of those things where, you know, and we'll go down the road of like how this transitions into fitness and getting people to like care about their fitness, but like that's a huge part of it is just fear. It's like scared, just the fear of like, well, what if
It's paralyzing.
what if this happens? I mean, we're right now we're trying to get people to do this internal competition. And did you do the last one?
I did the last one. Yeah.
Okay. You were there. It was a blast.
I loved it. It was really
It
fun.
was a lot of fun, and it was just work out and do it and then be done for the day. And just because we're going to another gym who's, for lack of a better term, is pretty identical to ours in what we do, and they're like, well, what if I get someone that's really good? Like, like, it doesn't matter.
I think that when I come to like a 5:30
Yeah,
a.m.
so-
class, I'm like, I don't know if you really want to be my partner, but
Yeah, and guess what? It doesn't matter. And that person doesn't care.
No.
You know, everyone's getting into it for the fun of it. So, anyways, so then you go build houses in New Orleans.
And then I ended up getting into nursing school, and I lived in Florida. I stayed with my mom for a little bit before I started nursing school, and then I moved back to Maryland. So I kind of just made like a triangle and came back. Went to nursing school and graduated the day after I left, or left the day after I graduated, rather.
And then came here.
And then went to Florida again
Well, went to Florida again. Sorry.
for a boy.
Okay.
Which part of Florida?
East Coast, about an hour south of the Kennedy Space Center-ish. So like in line with Orlando, just
I
out.
have no idea there. You
Okay.
lost me.
You know where
Florida's-
Orlando is in the middle?
Florida?
Florida's just
Florida's
weird.
an
East
island,
Coast.
right?
Yes. East Coast.
Florida's just weird. If you ever see a weird
Also
headline,
pronounced Florida.
It's from Florida.
it's Florida or Germany. It's one of the two. It's like Florida man or Florida woman, and like German man, German woman.
Yeah.
Just those are the weird stories. Those are the weird headlines.
So you go to Florida.
Yeah, and that's where I started my nursing career. So I graduated nursing school and then moved immediately. So my first nursing job was in Florida. It was beautiful. I mean, I lived a half a mile from the beach, but you live somewhere awesome and you kind of stop going to the beach because it's there all the time and you can go anytime you want to. And
Must be nice.
But it's one of those things. I mean, unless you're just gonna go sit there and tan. No one goes swimming in the ocean.
I do now because I don't live there. Like when I go to South Carolina, I'll go swimming in the ocean, but I didn't when I was living there.
I said that about even just Cincinnati. When people, you don't hear it as much anymore, but it used to be, there's nothing to do here. I'm like, you just haven't done any of it.
Yeah.
Like there's plenty to do. Any city you live in, I'm sure there's stuff to do. So.
Yeah.
So you move for a boy.
Yeah. We get married down there. Hospital system that I was working for changed a lot. The higher ups had changed, like their focus had changed, and I didn't like what it was doing to the bedside care as far as safety goes. I didn't think that safety was as much of a priority anymore, and I wasn't confident that if something happened, it wouldn't be blamed on the nurse.
Gotcha.
So my brother had moved here years ago and then moved to San Diego for a while and was moving back. And the way Florida's set up, we weren't living near a big city. There was like 2 hospital systems within a normal driving distance. And I didn't like either one of them. So either way, we were going to move. My husband was an engineer on a ship, so he could fly to any airport and any port and get on a ship. So it didn't matter where we lived. So we moved here when my brother moved back in 2014. 7 years since then.
It's 2014?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 4 years.
Yep.
Coming on 5, I guess, depending on when you move.
Middle of the year, so 4.5.
So, and then do you go directly into nursing again for a hospital?
Yeah, so I moved here. I interviewed before I moved and chose Christ, their cardiovascular ICU. So that at a lot of hospitals, it's a mix of you've had heart surgery and you need to be recovered. That happens there. Or you're in heart failure and you need medicine or you need like an assist device or something. A lot of hospitals have all of that in one cardiovascular unit, and that's what Christ had. And they had a lot of cool stuff going on.
As someone who's lived in a lot of different cities, I've always heard that Cincinnati is a pretty good hospital network.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would just because I've just heard that. I mean, obviously with UC Health and Children's, I know Children's is ranked one of the
it's
top
like 1 or 2 in the country, I think.
Yeah. That's pretty
People from
awesome.
all over the world come there. It's kind of cool. In their lobby, they have them all listed, like where they're from.
Oh,
and
that's
it's like,
cool.
Africa, South America,
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Wow.
As far as adult care, you don't see as much of the people coming in from out of country as you do like the Johns Hopkins, like the East and West Coast, like big Boston hospitals. But for this area, I mean, UC has a fantastic emergency medicine residency program. We have really good hospitals here.
Yeah.
I think.
Very cool. And then, so how long, because you're no longer in that department.
Right.
So, I don't know, was that the next step, is going to where you are now?
So I don't even remember how I found that there was an opening. So UC's transport program, they have the aircraft, but they also have ambulances. They do ALS, BLS, and basically a mobile ICU.
I don't know what those mean.
So, you have to go back to a nursing home, but you don't really need any care. You just have to go with a medical provider, that kind of thing. Or you have a couple drips, or you need a heart monitor while you're in transport. A paramedic can take you. Or if you are out in some, like Dearborn County or some hospital where they can't take care of you, but they've kind of stabilized you, and you need a nurse and a medic to make sure that you have to be on a ventilator, or you have these special drips or whatever to go by ground. So I started with that, and the department's kind of weird. The ground nurses are not union, but the air nurses are union, so like there's no flipping between the two sections, even though we're in the same department. It's very, very strange. So I went to the mobile ICU because I missed being outside of the hospital and being autonomous and having a partner with me and doing that. But I really liked the nursing part of it, I guess. But autonomy and
Sirens.
And sirens, obviously. I started to really not like bedside nursing.
Yeah.
It's I'm sure you've heard about how it's changing with patient satisfaction. Is it a big buzzword? I don't know if hospitals are getting ranked on how happy patients are when they leave versus medical outcomes. So reimbursement's getting more linked. You're it's becoming more a hotel than...
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately, there's a huge problem with people using hospitals as their primary care.
Yeah, absolutely.
And more so even just ER rooms.
Yes.
Very well knowing they'll never pay that back.
Right.
And then if you couple that with, well, you didn't treat me right.
Right.
Yeah.
When
So
they
I
get
can
the
see
survey.
where you're at. Yeah.
So it was tough. It's grueling, like 12 grueling hours in an ICU. You have 2 or 3 patients and they're sick, and it's just constant. So, kudos to all the nurses that stick with that.
What do you do to balance that out? I mean, obviously CrossFit, working out and stuff like that, but maybe before you found us.
Trying to work out.
Like trying to work out.
Yeah.
So I would feel like such that intense, emotion and demand on your kind of nervous system, all those things would just lead me to like totally disconnect.
And that would happen sometimes. I mean, they talk about compassion fatigue, and it's a totally real thing. Like you care all day about these 2 people or these families or this stuff that's going down, and then you go home and you're like, I got nothing. I got nothing for you. I got nothing for me. I got nothing for anybody.
Then something happens where
everything.
A friend or a family member, and they stub a toe and the world's ending. You're like, you have no idea.
Right. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you get kind of burnt out on that.
Yes. And then so I started with the mobile ICU, and I actually transitioned there full time. I think I started teaching some clinicals for nursing in that time too at Christ College. And then I applied for the air care position that was open. There was a few open at the time, and interviewed and was hired. And it had been like ever since I accidentally fell into medicine, and I saw what they could do, like what aircraft transport provides and what the different programs can provide. Like that was my dream job for like 15 years before.
Yeah, that's part of the reason I kept, usually we don't spend this much on time on like your whole like job. What was your first job? Right. But I did want to get to that, and because I think it's a pretty amazing job in what you do, and
it's awesome.
It not just amazing, but also very interesting to me. So what I just give us a rundown of like what everything, not everything, the big bullet points of what you guys do.
So we, and I've only worked for UC Air Care, so I really can only intelligently, even pseudo-intelligently speak to our own program. We bring the ER or the ICU from UC to the patient versus our programs or EMS even sometimes is we just need to get this person to UC or to the receiving facility so they can get what they need. We bring the drugs, the equipment, the meds, a physician or an advanced practice nurse, blood, all that stuff with us so we can start the intervention there.
And it's usually pretty hectic stuff, I'd assume, right?
Yeah, a lot of the time.
Stub toe.
You would hope that is not why they would call us, yeah. You'd be surprised some of the stuff that we take that really probably didn't need to be taken by us, but we do a mix of probably 60% hospital to hospital, so those hospitals that can't take care of the person that they have, or they need a specialist at another facility. We'll take maybe 60% of those, and then 40% is EMS is calling us and saying we need you. Every now and then it's maybe something that could have gone by ground, but there's something that either a gut feeling or something that EMS provider was told or the fire chief was told that made them think that air transport was going to get the patient where they needed to be faster.
Yeah, because obviously you're physically going faster.
Yeah. It takes a little bit more time as far as like getting the clearance to fly and actually starting up the aircraft and taking off. But other than that, it is.
So do you remember like your first run?
I remember my first day. Is it so bad I don't remember my first patient flight? I don't think it was anything spectacular, which is fine as my first flight for it to be something kind of routine or mundane.
What's it like when you get that call, like, we got a critically injured
It's
person and
always,
we're going up?
I wouldn't say scary, but it's always
Adrenaline.
like if you don't get like the butterflies in your stomach, like
Right.
maybe it's
Yeah.
not for you anymore kind of
Sure.
thing. Like every flight is different and no flight is perfect, and I learn something new every single time. It is
That's got to be
incredible.
addicting too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably super addicting.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So again, when you're kind of encountering people and they're having a very, very bad day, generally speaking, what kind of other precautions or maybe just things you might have to do that are maybe different than if you're taking them in the ground transports? Because obviously they're secure in an aircraft, but like you are still a couple hundred feet in the air.
Sure. Things like making sure that they're secure, making sure our equipment is secure, giving them hearing protection, letting them know the noises and the feelings that they're going to have, making sure if there's family there at the sending or at the scene or whatever, making sure they know that we're going to beat them no matter what, so take your time.
Yeah.
Don't try to beat us there.
Yeah, you don't want 2 accidents.
Exactly. And it's going to be a while before they can see their family member anyway.
Right.
With all the stuff that has to happen.
Yeah. So, and then obviously it's a physically demanding job, and hopefully that's where we come into play a little bit.
Yes.
Right. So you move out of a kind of emotionally draining job to maybe something that fits you a little bit more, but again, you still have to be physically fit, and you said you tried to work out on your own, things like that.
It was like Planet Fitness-y stuff,
Yeah.
and I was like, I am not good at making myself work out when I don't want to. Like the stuff that I do here in a group class is because I like can't quit,
Right.
because everybody would see me quit,
Yeah,
and
right.
it would be
You
terrible.
can, but everyone would see it, yeah.
So it's like, I'm gonna do a half an hour on an elliptical, and that 20 minutes I'm bored, so I'm just gonna stop.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't feel like doing this anymore, so I'm not going to.
Right.
And I wasn't obviously strong or fit or any of those things.
So how do you come upon CrossFit and us and all that good stuff?
I found a primary care provider for my yearly physical or whatever. It's Dr. Proctor, Melanie, and she asked me if I'm exercising, and I made up some lame whatever about Planet Fitness, and she's like, oh, you should try it. This is when you guys were at the old place. She's like, you should try out this gym. I was like, okay. I think I had already tried out a different gym that I didn't like, a CrossFit gym. I was like, whatever, I'm probably not going to do that. So like a year is coming around, and I have to go back and see Melanie for my yearly thing,
Yeah.
and the last thing I want is to be in the same exact position I was before, and she asks me and tells me the same thing. So I decide a week before my appointment that I'm going to come here and try the
Have we moved there?
insurance. Yeah, you guys were here.
Yeah, you probably would have stayed at the car wash.
No. So I tried the intro classes, and I actually really like it. So it's actually Melanie that got me here.
Very cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
we love her.
Dr. Proctor.
She's been.
Gotta get her on the podcast.
Yeah.
We do got to get her on the
Melanie,
podcast.
if you're listening, let's do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's great.
And then, so things are you're picking things up here, and you kind of start a little bit of barbell action and things like that. Yeah. How does that transfer over into a physically demanding job?
In a stressful
Just
job.
being stronger, being more physically fit.
I mean, there's that, obviously, the actual physical ability to lift more weight, but it's also confidence too. Like being in these situations where we have to like crouch and lean and move and bend over and like lift people in really weird, contorted ways, or get into like crushed vehicles and have to do stuff, or even just lifting a stretcher into an aircraft kind of thing. People are bigger now than they used to be, and
Yep.
What?
yeah, we don't have those, automatic loading stretchers because they weigh a lot more than the ones that don't, with all the mechanics that go into that.
Yeah.
And we can only lift so much with an aircraft, and the more that we lift in equipment, the less we can lift in patients. So I don't see us getting one of those awesome, cool,
Yeah, right.
self-loading
Right.
stretchers, as nice as it would be. But yeah, it's nice to know that probably 80% of our patients I can lift them into the aircraft without help.
Sure.
we'll have like fire department and stuff help us if we need to, or our pilots help us sometimes. But sometimes like stuff has to happen so quick that if I can do the lifting,
Sure.
it cuts that much time.
Right, because they can grab other equipment, put it back on the aircraft and things like that. Yeah, it's one thing we've talked about on here before is just, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, just the confidence factor. For us, I know definitely for me personally, Mark's touched on it too, but just having a different set of problem-solving skills. And what I mean by that is, like, again, you see these daunting workouts and you're like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then you slowly work through it and slowly get through it. It's, I can do this. I don't know if that's been a factor for you at all.
It has. It's changed my mentality too with that. Like last Wednesday's workout, I was convinced had to be a partner workout. Like there's no way that I can do all that stuff by myself. And you do, and you get through it, and you feel stronger. And I mean, not then. I didn't feel stronger then, but like thinking
like
about it now, I feel stronger.
Mush on the floor.
Yeah, and like you guys say too, it doesn't get easier. You just get better.
Yeah.
Like
you just get better at it. You just do things faster or heavier.
Yesterday, I came in and did Tuesdays, and I'm halfway through the workout. I'm like, I feel just as terrible at this as I did on my first day. Like this is just terrible. This whole thing is just awful. And I look at my time later, and I'm like, it actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't like to use Wodify as like a ranking. I like to use it as like I really look up to this person because they're super fit, and how did I do compared to that person if I RX the workout?
Sure.
Like that helps me feel better. Like the closer I can get to that kind of stuff. But yeah, confidence and ability to work through something that really is terrible and come out on the other side stronger, I guess. And I definitely don't mean to insinuate that that moving away from the bedside has made my job any less emotionally taxing.
Oh no. No, but I think coupling like the mental toughness part of it, I think they could only help, right?
Yeah. So last year when I hurt my back, it got to the point where I was not allowed to exercise for like 2 months. And then I had a couple flights that were really, really awful. And I was still kind of new to air care. And I had done EMS before, but then I was in nursing for a while. So like getting back into you're seeing things as they happen versus like after they've been admitted through the ER and like kind of everything's been done for you. But I had a couple bad flights like with kids, and I was just like an emotional disaster. And I couldn't exercise. And I hadn't changed my eating, and honestly, my eating probably got worse. So I was gaining weight, and it just felt terrible. And working through that, and having a really tough winter, and coming out on the other side of that, where I exercise like 5 times, 6 times a week-ish, if I can. And it's to the point now where like if I'm stressed out and I know I can go to the gym, and something happens to where then I can't, like I'm upset.
Yeah.
And if you you told me 2 years ago that I can't go to the gym because I hurt my back, it'd be like, yes.
Yeah.
Now I have an excuse not to be there.
All right, Netflix, here we go.
Yes, I'm super happy. But it actually turned into I was even more upset about everything else that was happening in my life because I couldn't exercise.
And what, was there like a light bulb moment that you think that's why? Was it just those small wins day after day, like, oh, I can do this, and you're building some momentum? Because I feel like a lot of people view exercise and fitness as this like big mountain that they'll never climb.
It was just little at a time. It's like if you keep doing something and you develop it as a habit kind of thing. I think that is how it worked for me. And then like being like, I can actually lift something heavy, and like maybe I can lift it heavier next time. And if I keep, I don't know, like
you gotta gamify it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like it can't just be like, I just went and did it.
Right.
Yeah.
You think you can. Like,
right.
I'm like, oh, that workout's going to really suck. I'm just going to go and just move. But then you get here and you're like, I'm really actually going to try to do it.
Yeah, because you hold yourself accountable, I think. And that takes a little bit of time too,
Yeah.
The people, you can say you don't care, but if you watch closely, like, oh, if they really didn't care, they wouldn't have, you see them peeking out their periph, seeing what's going on around them and things like that. So everybody does it. So piggybacking off what you said about the stress and things like that, and maybe specifically with those bad couple flights, and how do you prevent yourself from taking that home, or do you?
Oh, I took it home.
Yeah.
It wasn't good. After that, I got a lot better at, and the resources were always there for me. Like, my colleagues were always there for me, but I was still new in the position and felt like I tried to just deal with it. I was like, well, I cried about it, so I'm probably fine. I've gotten a lot better at actually talking about the bad flights, and to where I've had a number of them, but they haven't affected me nearly as bad as those first couple.
And the reason I ask is, like, because again, like, everyone, you know, I've had to make it a habit of, like, when I leave here, unless I absolutely have to, I don't open my computer back up, because I'll take things home from here to home and they'll affect me there.
Yeah.
You know, and it's on a much smaller scale than what you're talking about, but you know, the reason I ask is, like, on a much bigger scale, you know, how do we tell people to not bring their work home from them? To when they get home, how do you just say, I'm here for my family, I'm here for my friends?
For me, it was utilizing the resources that I have at work.
Yeah.
So my colleagues who do this with me every day,
Right.
talking to them, or talking to my medical director, or talking to people who do this.
Yeah.
To where, like, I don't even, unless it's something really that hits me for some reason, whatever reason that is, and I'll talk to maybe my mom or something about it, but otherwise I don't really, as long as I take care of it at work, I don't know, that's not really a good answer.
Well,
but
I think what you're saying is you're not an island, right?
Right. No.
You can't.
I tried to be, and it really didn't go well.
Yeah. You can't do this on your own, and, like, whether it's work resources or just family and friend resources, like, you have to be able to deal with things in another way. You know.
Yeah, that's why obviously CrossFit works. This
Yes.
community.
Yes,
You
and
know.
this being here, coming here before work or on my off days or whatever, like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's almost like one of those. Well, this is what I thought anyway. So you told me that they're changing the kilogram the other day.
Oh, yeah, but that
I was like,
yes.
you know, a 10 kilo plate is always a 10 kilo plate, and a 15 kilo bar is always weighs that much. And anything that happens to where I can't lift it or I lift it poorly is all on me.
Yeah.
Like, I can't save all my patients because there's stuff going on that I can't affect, or I can't save my relationship because things that other people bring or their personalities are things that I can't affect or I can't change. But this is like the place where input of effort equals results or equals output, and the only person that can affect it is me, like, with guidance obviously from you guys, but if I work really hard, I get better results. If I slack off, I don't get anything. If I can't lift a weight I could lift yesterday, it's something with me. It's what I'm eating. It's how I'm sleeping. So it's kind of peaceful and calming to know that, like, I take full responsibility for what happens here.
Yeah.
Like, nobody else can screw it up for me, but nobody else can, like, make me be better without me participating, if that makes sense.
No, it absolutely does. And, you know, one of the things we're reading an Above the Line book right now, and he talks about, you know, how preparation equals, you know, better results and things like that. So we talk about, like, going to bed earlier, eating correctly. You know, like, you could work your butt off in here, but if you're not doing the things outside of the gym to prepare to come in here and to work your butt off, you're still not going to see results.
Yeah.
You know, but like you said, hopefully we're giving people a place, we call it a little sanctuary, but a place where they can come and de-stress and be in control of that little part of their day.
Yeah.
You know, because so many people just run around from point A or chaos A to chaos B.
Yeah.
You know, and, like,
and don't take time for themselves, and don't. Like, I can't imagine not doing this now.
Yeah.
And the half barbell, half CrossFit thing is probably the best decision that I've made.
I do want to talk about barbell a little bit, because you've now got a couple meets under your belt, right? And,
a mock one.
well,
and
mock
a real
one and a real one, yeah. So it's still a couple meets.
Yeah.
You know, we still ran the mock meet as a meet, but so when you kind of started that and where you are now, you know, how's your mind kind of wrapped around barbell and
Like,
Olympic weightlifting? And
a year and a half ago, I think, I was told I should just do a meet just to do it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, there ain't no way. There ain't no way with my stage fright and everything else, and I'm getting up in front of all these people in the
a leotard.
in the most unattractive piece of clothing I would wear, which I didn't own at the time, so, like, I couldn't say that I owned it, but like a bathing suit basically, and have everybody stare at me and judge me on how I lift this. There ain't no way. So
Jared wears this all the time, though.
I know.
I'm actually wearing it right now.
But even before I started doing barbell club, I still was in that boat. Like, I'm joining it because I want to get better at, like, because I had a goal for just my snatch, and I couldn't get it, and I knew that the only, like, what was keeping me wasn't that I wasn't strong enough, it was because my technique was garbage.
Yeah.
So I knew that joining barbell would help me with that and help me with everything else. And only once I started really liking like, even just the different complexes or the different stuff we would do every week, I'm like, I really like this. I like the technical piece of it, and I think I actually do want to do kgs and kilos. And I don't think I would have, I don't know that I would have done it if I hadn't done the mock meet first, so I'm really thankful for that. But
I think there's a serious lesson there whenever you identify that you're struggling in an area. So in this, obviously, example, it was your Olympic lift, the snatch. And you're like, you know what, I'm going to spend more time on this and expand my technique and then conquer my fear by doing a mock meet. I feel like a lot of us, have things we struggle with, whether that's emotional, physical, spiritual, whatever it is. And we just think it's going to magically fix itself. But there's just something about this intentionality piece of, hey, you know what? I'm having issues with my spouse or whatever it is. We need to proactively attack this.
Yeah.
It's not going to just be like, all right, I got a good night's sleep. Everything's better.
Right.
So
I ate good this one day.
yeah, kudos for you to be smart enough to recognize that and then pursue it and ultimately do it.
Yeah. It's been great.
Yeah,
We're doing
cool.
another meet in like 2 weeks.
Yep. And how do you feel about going to that one?
Fine. So the thing is for me, like, I don't call it competing. Like, when I talk about being in a meet, I call it participating. I'm participating in the meet because I'm not competing against anybody but myself. And, like, I'm not exceptionally strong or good at any of this. It's, like, just the exposure or the challenge. Like, I have a goal at this meet.
This is where I think people are finally getting it, you see people do CrossFit competitions and they go have fun with it, but it's like this like silly like, oh, we're gonna go have fun, we're gonna wear unicorn t-shirts and like just act silly, but like you're being intentional about what you're doing. So this isn't just some silly thing, but the nice thing about weightlifting is you truly are just competing against yourself.
Yeah.
Now, at the higher levels, yes, obviously it is a sport, but like for a lot of people just doing this, it is a great way to like, hey, I'm gonna get up there and test my ability on this day.
Because it gets me.
Yeah, I was gonna say after you've logged the weeks of training and all that stuff.
Because it doesn't get me anything like tangible. It doesn't get me a free anything or a spot in something or like it doesn't.
You don't get a participation trophy?
I don't,
This
which
is
I'm really
bullcrap.
upset about.
Yeah.
But no, it gets me, like, I have a goal for this next meet, and if I get that, like, I will be super stoked.
Right.
That's why I'm doing it. Like, so I can be, I don't know, proud of myself is what I'm looking for. But, like, to be like, I saw this as a challenge, and a year ago I never would have been able to do this, and I did it.
I was just like, like any of the foot races, the 5Ks, the 10Ks, the marathons, and all that stuff. Like, so many people do that. They're not out there like, I came in 114th.
Right.
Like, no, I did it. Like, I actually did this, and I set my mind to it. Now, again, at the higher level stuff, like, you're going to see those people who are like, I came in second.
Yeah.
And now they're pissed off because they came in second enough.
But that's like me half the time here, though. I'm like, I just want to finish.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, like, I don't want to be the last one to finish. I just want to finish.
Don't be last.
So, like for you, kind of what are the next steps as far as like, we are doing this meet in a couple of weeks. Like where would you like to see yourself go in the next couple of months, next year or so?
For barbell and I guess it depends on how I'm actually able to progress. Like if it got to, because I'm a master's now, because I'm 35. If it got to where I could lift what would qualify for a master's weightlifter, like, I would do it. I don't really know where that is. I think it's like
I can tell you that
10 or 12 kilos more than I can lift right now, but so I mean, you never know.
You have access to steroids, right?
I
what?
do.
Who said that?
Yeah.
You're right there.
I had been
Is
better.
that smoker's cough he's got?
Newports.
Newports. Well, that's very cool because it's been fun to watch you, and I don't want to take this in which the spirit's intended, but it's been cool to see you get serious about it. you know, like not that you were joking around with it, but like to really dive in and like, oh, like how do I do this and how do I do it better?
Yeah.
You
Fix,
know?
fix my jerk, please.
Yeah.
It's probably the most rewarding thing as a coach is to see people have those light bulb moments where they're like, you know, I was talking to a guy the other day, and it's like, you know, I've been doing this for a little bit, but I'm not losing any weight. And I was like, well, let me see your food journal. And it was just like, all right, you're eating too many carbohydrates, you know, and hopefully that'll be a light bulb moment to where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, I need to like cut the, and it's that simple. It's not like, hey, you need to cut out the, you know, your macronutrient profile needs to look more like this. You need to go get a blood sample and run, you know, it's just stop doing this. And for you, it was more time in these movements.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's obviously cool that Jared's here to facilitate an Olympic lifting, class, but it's, you know, we can only facilitate so much.
Yeah.
And it's really up to you guys to be like, hey, you know what? I'm either going to come in here and, you know, and again, it's to each their own, right? If you want to come in here and just de-stress for an hour, awesome. Let's do that. If you want to come in here for an hour and work on Olympic lifting and have a goal to reach a certain level of competition, awesome. But I think each and every one of us that comes through here, you know, at a certain point, you get to that where it's like, I'm either going to have this light bulb moment or this is stupid.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, this is dumb.
2 ways to go.
You know,
Yeah.
or you're just kind of staying at that same level and you're content, even if you're telling people you're not. Like, I really need to lose this weight.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do something about it. It's kind of the point I was trying to make earlier. Like, if you realize, like, hey, I'm eating, you know, like crap.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, it's one thing to acknowledge that. It's a whole different thing to go home and, you know, bring the garbage can over to the pantry and start emptying your chips and all your crap out in there.
I think the intentionality thing that you were talking about
Yeah.
before. So like for this month, I've been trying to log my food every day and trying to do ROMWOD every day. Like I was really flexible when I was younger. That was now 20 years ago.
Yeah, I
I'm
was
not as
a
flexible as
gymnast when I was 3.
Yeah.
But it's like I've realized by logging my food that I eat ketchup with every meal. Like
Yeah. It's,
probably
basically sugar, just
probably
Yeah.
don't need to do that
flavored sugar.
Yeah.
as much as I do. But like it's being intentional, which I think took me many, many years to figure out actually you had to actually do.
Well, I think everyone's got a different normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like some people get Starbucks every day. That's just normal.
Yeah.
You know? And then it's like, I don't know why my finances
I
are,
had a,
you know, in such bad shape. It's like,
Right.
dude, you spend $80 a month at Starbucks.
Yeah.
We had a, Laura and I just got some like takeout the other day because it was just like, we both were like, we eat pretty well.
Yeah.
I was like, you know what? We deserve, like, let's go get some Chinese food.
Let's
And it
make
was
bad
like,
decisions.
right. But it was like, we're going to have
Yeah.
that meal together. And it was like, we're going to get takeout. And it's like,
And enjoy it.
I want a Sprite. And I got
Right.
like I think I
Yeah.
ended up getting like a Sunkist instead. But it was
Ooh.
like, I'm looking at it, I'm like, I actually said this to Lauren. I was like, people have this every day.
Right.
Can't.
And I was like, it was, believe me, it was delicious.
yeah.
I love Sunkist.
Well,
but it was
that's,
like, I had
that's
that
like
and I was
kind of the
just
worst
like,
part.
Yeah.
It's like,
And I was like, but people have this multiple times a day. You know, that's just soda.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, we had like one takeout meal with the soda, and I was like, I'm going to vomit.
well, you know, and Amy, you can maybe speak to this. Obviously, you have a real job, and you know, but in all seriousness, like you don't have to throw anybody under the bus. But I'm sure you're around this kind of toxic nutrition environment, you know. And again, maybe at a hospital, hopefully it's not as bad.
It is. It's
But
worse.
yeah,
You know,
I know
It's
it's bad.
worse.
I'm
Whenever
trying to be nice.
families thank nurses, they bring them donuts.
Yeah,
It's like,
exactly.
no wonder we're all
So,
fat. Just kidding.
so well, you know, and I'm not
Smokers.
saying that, but I'm just saying, you know, off of the context that you provided, and you said, hey, I'm in this 12-hour ICU. You know, whenever you moved out, someone else moved in.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like, oh, that's just not a position anymore. No, that's daily.
Yeah.
And people are taking home this stuff. And oh, by the way, there's every streaming service is available at the, you know, and 10 episodes in a row. All right, yeah, no big deal. And I'm sitting there and I'm eating crap, and
I did a lot.
the wall gets higher and higher, and then all of a sudden you're surrounded by four walls, and you don't like yourself, and then this negative self-talk sets in to where I'm a piece of crap. You know what? I don't. You know, again, but I am so thankful that we get to do what we do, where we're around encouraging people. You know, and it's definitely a, you know, a positive environment. But anyway, so. you know, have you ever tried to maybe have a conversation with someone within your work environment? I know maybe recently you brought someone in.
Yeah, one of my coworkers' wives.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I brought her in when you guys were doing the raffle or whatever.
Yep, she's Sandy's kind of starting with us, and I was just talking to Amy prior to all this, and it sounds like her husband's a little bit
Joe
interested.
mentioned a little bit yesterday
cool.
So,
of maybe being interested.
But that is the point of like what we want to do. Is it's not like, oh, wait, I mentioned it because Sandy's going to give us money.
Oh no.
I mentioned it because you brought Sandy in. I'm like, she's a good person. She's a mother of 4, and she needs some time and some self-care.
Yeah.
You know, because everybody deserves that, and everybody needs it.
The community here is probably. I mean, I love coming here and working out and the programming and that stuff, but I also like seeing my friends and meeting people here that I now see outside of here and do things with, and like moving to this area. I know a lot of people who lived here like know everybody in the area, but I didn't know anybody. Like I knew people at work, and that was it. It's kind of like them too. Like their circle of friends is smaller because they're not from here.
And you need multiple friends groups. You know, I think we're kind of figuring that out. Like, because especially with your job, probably like it's good to have those intimate conversations about work. But it's like, holy crap, how many times can we talk about all this high stressful stuff?
It's nice to talk to people who don't
Yeah.
want to talk about that, like because they don't.
It's the same thing. It's nice to talk to a stay-at-home mom that comes here, and she is probably just as equally glad to talk to you about whatever you want to talk about. Because, you know, especially a lot of those people who are, you know, parents with a whole bunch of kids, like our only adult interaction is either with each other or when they come here.
When they come to the gym.
So, no, I've been very excited to watch you grow as an athlete, grow as a person, become a major part of, you know, this community, so and bringing friends in and stuff like that. So I definitely appreciate you being a part of it, for sure. But as we kind of wrap things up, we just always, if you've listened to a couple of these, hopefully, it's just a really basic question: is what is your definition of success?
So I thought about that, and I think
Don't get it wrong.
I know.
Don't.
Gosh, for me, that's how I can not get it wrong, right? That's just for me. It's kind of a moving target. So when I was 20, how I considered myself successful is much different than now. So I got the job of my dreams, right? But I can't be like, now I'm done. Like that I am now successful and I can just sit back and
Can't be complacent.
Now that target has moved forward for me. Now I want to be somebody that can like help educate the new residents that come through our program, or you know, I made my goal of my 100-pound snatch, so now I'm good. I'm done. Like I can't.
I'm the best in the world.
I know. Right? So, like it's just not how it works for me. So as I achieve a goal, I just kind of move forward. Like when you're playing a video game and you get to like save, you never have to go back and do that part again. Like now you just, if you fail, you just kind of start from there again. Yeah. You just kind of move forward till you get the next save point, and then it just kind of keeps moving forward for me. So like I don't think that I'm not successful just because I have new goals every time, but I do think that I always have like something I'm looking to do. Like something
you have to, like just what you said before. You can't be complacent, right?
Yeah.
You know, you achieve one thing and it's time to move on to the next one.
Yeah.
You know, they're all the sports analogies. You know, you're only as good as your last play, your last game, whatever it is. So you can't just have the best day of your life and be like, well, I'm done. I'm tired.
Now I'm done.
Well, thank you so much for
taking
some time out. Appreciate it. Hopefully we conquered another fear of talking.
Yes, this went way better than I
to
thought.
all the interwebs, millions of followers.
I know.
Might be billions now.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening to Triumph Every Day. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, and everywhere your favorite podcasts are found. You can find us at triumphstrength.net, on Instagram at triumphstrength, and Facebook at facebook.com/triumphstrength. Thank you again.